The thing about Chelsea is life is never boring. Hey chaps, welcome to Propertels.tv, your one-stop Chelsea news channel. I'm your host, Logan Blue. And today, well, what are we doing? I'm glad you asked. Today we are diving into a match preview for the Chelsea versus Manchester City game. And praise Jesus, Mary and Joseph, because the football is back. And I don't mean the European Championships, which were, good, kinda, okay, maybe, sometimes. But the real football is back, the English Premier League season, and I cannot tell you how excited I am, as I am sure you are also. Radio. So, without further ado, let us jump into the match preview, and I'll show you my predicted 11. Now, this isn't obviously the 11 that I suspect Enzo will choose, but this is the 11 that I would choose as a way of matching, if not bettering, Manchester City. Because honestly, I think if we can get a draw out of this match, given Enzo's only had a month to work with the team to get his tactics across, and if you take out the ridiculous amount of matches we played in the US on our preseason tour, on really crappy AstroTurf pitches and in crazy heat. I don't really think he's had a month to work with the team. You could probably say he's had 2 weeks, if he's lucky, with the first 11, or maybe the first 18 or so, that he's probably narrowed down in his mind as to being the players he's likely to call on early in the season. But yeah, let's jump into the predictor, and we'll have a look at the team and the formation, and then I'll also show you a B team, which is interesting because I think the Chelsea B team, if everyone were fit and all 11 played every game, I suspect our B team could still finish mid-table, which says a lot about our A team if our A team remains fit and if our A team actually plays to the level that we think they should and can. But all right, let's jump into it now. Okay, so this is my predicted 11 for the Chelsea versus Manchester City Super Sunday game. As you can see, I've gone with a formation of 4-2-1-2-1 technically, although that'll adapt to a 4-3-3 depending on whether we have the ball or we don't have the ball. I've gone with Sanchez in goal. Now, Sanchez shouldn't be anywhere near our team. You know it, I know it. Unfortunately, the Chelsea directors and Enzo apparently do not know it, though I do not know why. Enzo thinks Sanchez is the best goalkeeper with the ball at his feet. We all saw last season that every time Sanchez tried to play out from the back, we were holding our breath, a hand just covering our eyes because he has so many mistakes in him. He really, really does. So I think it's an absolute myth. Maybe he's got a PR company putting this out there that Sanchez is good with his feet. However, Philip Jorgensen is new, and while I don't think Sanchez will end up staying number one for the rest of the season, I suspect that Jorgensen hasn't been around Enzo enough to prove that he should be the number one. I think he had a game and a half or something in preseason, and sometime off the pitch, getting tactics and whatnot drilled into him. So yeah, I think later in the season he'll come into his own. But because apparently we've got no idea when it comes to goalkeepers, Chelsea. I swear to God. But Sanchez is it. for good or ill, and it'll probably be for ill. Now, left back. I've got a little bit of a curveball here. I've gone for Renato Vega. Now, I've gone for Renato Vega because in attack, the left back will tuck in into the midfield to become an extra midfielder. Renato Vega has done that. He is left-footed, and he's also a unit. He's big, he's strong, he's tall, and I suspect when you're playing a team with a 6'5" Viking at centre forward, that a bit of size and strength will absolutely benefit you. I also think that Cucurella will probably be the starting left back of choice as the season goes on, but he obviously won the Euro Championships with Spain, hasn't had a lot of preseason, and thus I don't think can play a full game. So what I think might happen is Renato Vega may play 70 minutes and then Cucurella will come in. But I think it's Cucurella's position to lose, which is crazy because a year ago, did any of us think we would say that sentence out loud? We were all praying for Ben Chilwell to come back. And now Cucurella has done so well in the last half of last season and then shining with Spain in the Euros that, yeah, it's his position, and Chelsea feel we can sell Ben Chilwell because he doesn't fit the formation. He's neither winger or proper, hardcore left back, and we're not playing wing backs anymore. So yeah, I think it's very short-sighted because I think Ben Chilwell, if he stays fit, and we all know that's a very big if, but if he stays fit, I think Ben Chilwell is on the left what we need. And honestly, I think he's the best we've got as far as that side of the field. But again, Cucurella has been so solid in defense, so he's going to stay, and I suspect it will be his position to choose, as I said. In the center of defense, everything that I've been reading suggests that Colwell and Fofana are the starting center backs. Now, a lot of people have raved about Fofana, at least they did prior to him coming in and then getting injured and missing an entire season. But he was a sick note player before we bought him. He had a lot of injuries, and we knew that going in, and then he got another injury. He's kind of like Reece James, but in the center. So he's back, and a lot of YouTubers that I've watched talking about Fofana suspect that he's the dog's bollocks when it comes to defenders. He can play out with the ball at his feet. He's imperious in defense, blah, blah, blah. I have to say, I've not seen it, but I think he's going to start either way. Levi Colwill as the partner to Fofana. Now, Levi, I have concerns about Levi because in his Chelsea career, which we have to understand has been in very trying times, and he's had some injuries himself and whatnot, but everybody talks about him like he's the new John Terry, but left-footed, right? But again, I've not seen it, and I suspect that Levi's ego is cashing checks that maybe his talent can't bank. I really want to be proved wrong because we need a captain and a strong defender, a strong English defender as a captain would be brilliant, would be ideal, somebody to be the new John Terry. But yeah, I'm not altogether sure that Levi Colwill will be a starting left back, a starting left central midfielder, a starting left central defender. Got there eventually. I'm not sure that he'll be, a starter in that position moving forward because I just think he's got lots of errors in him. Now, could be wrong and hope I'm wrong, but yeah, again, I think that's his position to lose. Now, in front, I've gone for 2 6s as opposed to 2 8s against lesser teams, whatever that means, because Chelsea are a lesser team at the minute. But against lesser teams, I suspect we'll start with one in the hole and two in front of him, 2 8s instead of and 1 6 instead of the other way around. But I think we have three of the best central defenders in the league. I really do. Obviously, Rodri, a fit Rodri would get in front of all of them if we had him. But Lavia has had a really good preseason, and I was very excited when we signed him and we pinched him from Liverpool. But again, sick note player, he gets injured and is out for most of the season. But he's back. He's had a good preseason, like a really good preseason, one of the standouts. And Caicedo didn't have a good preseason, but I think Caicedo's only good when he's fit, and he's kind of phoning it in a bit when he's not fit, as we've seen early in the season, last season. But at the end of the season, he was fantastic, right? So I suspect that Lavia and Caicedo will be the starting combination of 6s if we play with a double pivot, right? Enzo Fernandez has come back from his own injury worries. My God, I should have a tip jar every time I mention the word injury or injury ravish. I should put some money into the jar and just collect it. And by the end of the video, I'd be able to buy myself a new car. But yeah, Fernandez was playing with an injury and was having injections. So a lot of the Chelsea fan base were really on his back because he was, he's slow, like he really is. He's slow, right? But he's supposed to be this Fabregas type player who can see a pass that others can't and can ping passes for 60 yards, and land them on a dime. We saw a little bit of that early in the season, but in the back end of the season, we did not see any of that. And he didn't chip in with anywhere near enough goals for someone who is supposedly better positioned further up the field. So, but he's a £100 million player. He's going to start. He may not finish the season as a starter, depending on how well Chelsea go, because as I said, we may end up going for one or two players in his position. And if it's one, like it is, at least in my predictor here, then he's getting the nod now. But moving forward, maybe Palmer's there, and maybe we have Madueke or somebody on the right, depending on obviously the team that we're playing. So moving forward, I've gone with Raheem Sterling at this kind of the old-fashioned inside left, if you will, but the front of the three. I've done that because he's had a pretty good preseason as well, which has surprised us all, I think. Most of us have written him off. And if it wasn't for his £315,000 a week salary, we would gladly sell him. I think the owners would love to be rid of him and have somebody on a 100k, 80k a month in his place, some young up and comer, right? But he's got a point to prove with City, as he's proved last season, and I think he will. I think he'll have a really good game. So I'm starting him here, and in a front three, he may not be the starter come the end of the season because we have quite a few players that can play there. But yeah, he's definitely starting for me tomorrow. Cole Palmer on the right, that's a no-brainer. It's his best position. I know everybody says that he should play more centrally, but it was Enzo in the under-23s at City who converted Cole Palmer from playing as a 10, pushing him out wide and making him a player that Chelsea wanted to spend £43,000 on when he'd hardly kicked a ball for the City first 11. Okay, and up front we've got Jackson. Now Jackson hasn't really played enough minutes to be fit. He is not going to last the full game, nowhere near the full game. But hopefully we can get 60 or 70 minutes out of him. Okay, so that's the first 11. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to show you the B team, right? Um, the substitutes, if you will, but just think of it as the B team. Because if you look here, if we play with the same formation, look how strong the B team is. Okay, we've got Jurgensen in goal, and again, I suspect he's going to be a better keeper long term than Sanchez, but I've not seen enough of him to suspect he's the answer to our goalkeeping question. He's not Courtois or prime Peter Cech or anything, but God, anything's better than Sanchez, right? But yeah, so we've got him there. Cucurella, he's a first teamer, but as I said, because of the main striking menace for City being a 6'5" Viking, I think we need a bit of height there, right? But Cucurella is really strong. Badiashile is, to me, he started well, but he just mistakes. I'm not sure whether we can judge any Chelsea player, if I'm being brutally honest, on last season, because we were such a dumpster fire of a club for two seasons, right? At least, right? But I don't know whether we've seen the best of Badiashile. Now, I don't know what the best is, but I don't think we're going to sell him. And I think there's a player in there, but I don't think we've seen anywhere near him living up to the hype of when he first came. Okay. On the right, we've got Adebayo and Josh Achimpong. Achimpong. Achimpong? Oh, sounds Chinese. Achimpong. Yeah, no. Josh, we've got Josh on the right? But these are all subs, right? These guys are not getting the first team anywhere near, right? And Carney Chukwuemeka is on the right of the midfield, but he is basically going to be sold, I suspect. Although I would love to keep him because before his injury, hey, there's more money in the jar. Before his injury last season, he was really getting up ahead of steam, and I think there's a lot to come from him if we keep him. Kellyman, again, a young player. Dewsbury Hall is somebody who knows Enzo's system, but he's not getting in the first team. No way in God's green earth. If we have if everyone's fit, a fit first 11, he's not getting in the first team. But he's going to be a very good guy to come on at 60 minutes, right? To maybe reshape the game if the players aren't performing the way that Enzo wants and making the most out of the system. Okay, Noni on the right. Now, I really like Noni. Right, there's all this. The rumors are that we're going to sell him to Newcastle, which I think is madness because I think his ceiling is really high. Yes, he's got ego, but name me a striker or an attacker that doesn't have ego and thinks he should be the first choice on the team sheet every week, right? But I really like what he's doing. He hasn't quite got the football brain of Palmer, as an example. So his decision when he beats his man isn't really up to snuff at the moment. But by God, I suspect it will be in a season or two. So I would really like to keep him, especially as we want depth. We want to be a Manchester City who can, bring somebody off the bench that will change the game, as opposed to just having people on the bench who are just there to make up the numbers. Okay, so Noni's on the right, and this is of the B team. Remember the subs. Pedro Neto is on the left. Now, did I mention that he's had injury problems? Money in jar, money in jar, money in jar. Another sick note player. However, he reminds me of, I'm going to drop the big man's name, Gianfranco Zola, right? He reminds me of somebody with magic, dust in his boots that can just, out of nowhere, turn a game on its head. Somewhere between Zola and Hazard, right? But he doesn't score enough goals historically, and doesn't necessarily track back as much as he should. But his assists right? His assists are great. And whereas Noni Madueke on the right has an issue with making the perfect decision once he's done the hard work and beaten his man, okay? Because usually he ends up crossing on his right foot, which is his weaker foot, okay? So I think we 100% have to play Pedro Neto on the left because he's naturally left-footed, okay? And what we want to do is we want to get somebody out wide on either side that can serve the striker, right? Beat a man, beat two men, get to the byline, chalk on his boots, lay it back intelligently into the feet or onto the head of the striker. Okay, I'm very excited about Neto. I really, really am. I'm hoping, obviously, like everybody else in the team, I'm hoping he can stay fit, right? And up front, now, Mark Gui. Wow, wow. 18 years old, cost us 6 million quid. But I'm gonna lead with my chin here. I'm gonna say that this kid is going to score more than 10 league goals this season coming off the bench. And that's even if we sign another striker. Okay? If we sign a certain Victor Osimhen, he's going to be the starting striker, and chances are we're going to have to push Jackson out to the left of the three. Okay? Or he's coming on as a substitute. I think he's going to be wasted as a substitute. Okay, so once again, look at the strength we've got in the front of the three on either side, because we've got players that could start, and none of us would whinge. We'd all be quite happy about them in the team. But anyway, Mark Gui, I think he's big and he hasn't finished growing yet. He's a unit, right? Already, he's great with the ball at his feet. He's come through the Barca academy, and he presses like a monster, and he's got an eye for goal, right? His final decision, right? The shot, left foot, right foot, header, whatever, it's not there. He's 18. What do you expect? He's never, ever going to be the finished product as an 18-year-old. But I am super, super excited. Of all our players this season, I am super excited about Mark Gui, okay? He's not getting in the first team, but I really hope we do not loan him and then he sits there in the first team squad and comes on as someone to make a difference. Because can you imagine his pressing and his urgency and his arrogance and aggression, right? Coming on at 60 minutes when defenders are tired and they've had a tough match up to that point, and the last thing they need is a Diego Costa type in their face, just never giving them an inch, right? He's that type of player, so I'm really, really excited about him. So yeah, that's the first and second team of my first and second team predictions. Okay, can we win with this? Well, I'll get to that at the end of the video. But next up, I just want to reference an article from Opta, which I thought was interesting. Had an interesting take on the Chelsea Man City team. Okay, and I'll run through that next up. All right, let's jump into it. Oh, hey chaps, back again. Apologies for the lighting having gone to hell. I had meant to finish the video off, but yeah, life intruded. It is the weekend, and life has a habit of doing that on the weekend. But just to finish the video off, I wanted to briefly mention some of this OptaStat stuff here. First of all, this Captain Obvious moment, have a look at this. The Opta supercomputer is predicting the champions Manchester City will start with a win on Sunday, giving them a 59.6% chance of beating Chelsea. Like, did we really need a supercomputer to tell us that? Yeah, I don't think so. But what I wanted to really point out is this here, the attacking sequence involvements. Now, when you think about Manchester City, you ask yourself, well, why are they so good? Well, a lot of reasons. Pep Guardiola being the world's best manager, they have the most money, they have the best first 11, they have the best squad. Yes, 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 and yes. But ultimately, if you were to drill down into all those observations, this here is the reason why they win everything. Um, Partly because of the purple here, which are chances created, and also because of the shots taken. Now, you can push back on this and say, yes, well, they make more chances and they make more shots because they have more of the ball. Yes, okay, that's 100% correct. But look at the grab bag of players in this list who consistently make chances and also get shots off. Because you know that old saying, a closed mouth never gets fed? It's like that with football. If you don't take any shots, you're not going to score. How many times have we seen somebody take a shot and it gets a lucky deflection and goes in? Or somebody takes a shot and they scuff it, but because they scuff it, it bounces off the turf and the keeper spills it and a striker follows in, right? It happens all the time. But if you don't take the shot, you don't score the goals, right? We don't want to try in this new Maresca system to become, I know, old school Arsenal, when under Wenger, when they always tried to score the perfect goal, right? Which used to drive the Arsenal fans crazy. Chelsea do not want to become a version of that, right? Yes, we want possession. We want to control the game. Of course, we do, in and out of possession, actually. But when we have chances in the final third, we need to just fire some shots across the bow because that's the only way we're going to get anywhere near this metric. Okay, so let's finish off with the actual score. That's where it gets tricky because we've had such a bad preseason that maybe the answer is obvious, but no, I actually don't think the answer is obvious. So let's get to it. Okay, so on to the score prediction. Given we lost 4-2 to City in preseason, and realistically they were 4-0 up, and had Pep been in the mood, he could have absolutely put his foot on our jugular and racked up a cricket score. But he didn't because he didn't want to embarrass, Enzo, who is his mate, too much. But they played a B team or a C team, and we played most, not all, but most of our sort of first team. Certainly a lot of them, and they just it was men against boys, except they were the boys. But you understand what I'm saying. This time around, I don't think it's going to play out like that. I think we will have learned from our mistakes. And I think the Chelsea team will have had their pride dented by that result, particularly that result, most of the results on preseason, but certainly that result. And I think they will have had another couple of weeks working with Enzo, getting their head around what he wants them to do. So my prediction is 2-2. I think City will go ahead. Chelsea will come back. City will go ahead. Chelsea will come back. I think at the end of the day, it'll be a 60-40 game, City's way, more possession, more shots, better chances. But I think Chelsea will be very good value for the draw. And if we can get a draw, and we need to get through the first 20 minutes without conceding for any chance of this to happen. But if we can get a draw against City when the team is still in chaos, when the transfer window is still open, if we can get a 2-2 draw, especially in the manner that I'm describing, coming back twice in the same game, I think players will take a lot of heart in that. And I think it'll mean that we get better quicker because of that, because confidence is a huge thing in football. So there you go. Chelsea 2, Manchester City 2 is my prediction. I will do a match review tomorrow, so it will be interesting to see how it all pans out. Alrighty, that's all the news that's fit to print and quite a bit that isn't. And as always, God bless, look after yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.